Welcome to this MOOC meant for BA Honours Psychology students for the CBCS course on General Psychology. It provides an introduction to the field of psychology and discusses some of the core areas of psychology in an interesting manner. Let us see a glimpse of a concept on classical conditioning. In the early 20th century, Russian physiologist Ivan Pavlov did Nobel Prize winning work on digestion. While studying the role of saliva in dogs' digestive processes, he stumbled upon a phenomena which he labeled psychic reflexes. While an accidental discovery, he had the foresight to see the importance of it. Pavlov's dogs, restrained in an experimental chamber, were presented with meat powder and they had their saliva collected via a surgical implanted tube in their saliva glands. Over time, he noticed that his dogs who began salivation before the meat powder was even presented, whether it was by the presence of the handler or merely by a clicking noise produced by the device that distributed the meat powder. Fascinated by this finding, Pavlov paired the meat powder with various stimuli such as the ringing of a bell. After the meat powder and bell, auditory stimulus, were presented together several times, the bell was used alone. Pavlov's dog, as predicted, responded by salivating to the sound of the bell without the food. The bell began as a neutral stimulus, that is, the bell itself did not produce the dog's salivation. However, by pairing the bell with the stimulus that did produce the salivation response, the bell was able to acquire the ability to trigger the salivation response. Pavlov therefore demonstrated how stimulus response bonds, which some consider as the basic building blocks of learning, are formed. During his study, Pavlov identified some key elements that are important for conditioning to take place. These are: number one, unconditioned stimulus, UCS, a stimulus that can elicit a response before any conditioning has occurred. In this case, food serves as its unconditioned stimulus. Thus, food produces a response even before conditioning is done. Therefore, it is naturally occurring stimulus which does not require any conditioning. The term unconditioned refers to anything that is unlearned or naturally occurring. Number two, unconditioned response, UCR, is referred to as a reflex response elicited by an unconditional stimulus. For example, food given to the dogs is the unconditional stimulus, UCS, and the salivation to the food is the unconditioned response, UCR. It is something which is unlearned and exists in our nervous system. Number three, conditioned stimulus, CS, is a stimulus that can bring out a response after being paired with an unconditioned stimulus. In this study, the sound of the bell will not elicit the same response until conditioning takes place. Fourth, conditioned response, CR, a response carried by a conditioned stimulus salvation to the conditioned stimulus, the bell, is referred as the conditioned response. Therefore, it comes as a response to the conditioned stimulus. There are three stages of classical conditioning. At each stage, the stimulus and the responses are given specific scientific terms. Stage 1, before conditioning. In this stage, the unconditioned stimulus UCS provides an unconditioned response UCR in an organism. In basic terms, this means that a stimulus in the environment, that is food, has produced a behavior or response which is unlearned, that is unconditioned, and therefore is a natural response, that is salivating, which has not been taught. This stage also involves another stimulus which has no effect on a person or animal and is called the neutral stimulus, that is NS, which is the well. The neutral stimulus could be a person, object, sound, etc. The neutral stimulus does not produce a response until it is paired with the unconditioned stimulus. Stage 2, during conditioning. During this stage, a stimulus which produces no response, that is neutral. In this case, a bell is associated with an unconditional or a conditioned stimulus, that is UCS, which is food. At which point it now becomes as the conditioned stimulus CS and the dog starts salivating at the sound of the bell only. Stage 3, after conditioning. No, the conditioned stimulus CS, that is the bell, has been associated with the unconditioned stimulus UCS to create a new conditioned response CR, that is salivating at the sound of the bell only. In conclusion, we can say that classical conditioning theory involves learning a new behavior via the process of association. In simple terms, two stimuli are linked together to produce a new learned response in a person or animal. Thank you.